Hi there, I'm Adam Kirbers and this is my novel. Listen, Lucy has a nightmare again. Special Agent Lucy Knight. She is a member of the FBI Behavioral Unit and she wiggles in bed. She's uncomfortable. She has the same nightmare she had all her life. The nightmare, these experiences, they ail her, they prostrate her. It is the same every day. She assumes that she's somewhere else, far away. She is in hell. And only her will to fight brings her back. Only her mental war against this nightmare and this search for the saving mattress underneath her saving bedroom in her home. Only this will brings her back. She opens the eyes. She feels the mattress underneath her. She is safe. She is not there in this different world. In this world where she is searching for something, where she walks through hell. She looks around in her bedroom. She's exhausted. This is not what you're supposed to be. Wake up after a nightly sleep and still be exhausted. She doesn't feel rested. Lucy feels this downbeat and downcast on her entire body. She feels beaten, exhausted day by day. But she is glad, at least, glad that it is morning. She looks next to her. Someone is supposed to be lying there, lying next to her. Comfort her. But the place next to her is empty. And she feels uncomfortable. Last night, she went out again. She went to a bar. She picked up a guy. She does this occasionally. Occasionally when the fear of being alone or having to go home alone, having to face the dark is too unbearable. This fear then grabs her, grapples her, paralyzes her, and then she needs someone who is with her. Lucy, despite the fact that she was always smart, she was always an ingenious girl who did well in school, but she is socially awkward and she knows that. She can't make friends. She can't make people like her. In school, she had hardly any friends and she somehow doesn't know how to act around them, what to say, what you want to say, how to make friends, what is necessary to make one liked. She never understood that. She never had the right answers. She never understood how small talk works, that in small talk it is common that you do not say the truth, that you listen to people and cheer them up, lie to them, everything will be fine. Don't worry, things will work out then. For Lucy, these things, they were never authentic. They were far-fetched. She could not be around them. She always yearned for real friendship, for people with whom she can experience whatever friendship means. Lucy, in a way, thinks of herself as an emotional cripple. She gets up, still uncomfortable. This person she met last night and brought home to have sex with, because she has to give them something. Lucy has an ambiguous perspective on sexuality. She likes it, yes, but something is missing in sex, or just pure sex. If you have just a coitus, if there's something missing, and she feels that she wants this more. Many people dream about this thing that is called love, but she does not know how to get there. And sometimes sex and just sex, feeling pleasure with her body alone and not with her mind, not caring who this person is with whom one has sex, is emotionally soothing as well as exciting as well. So sex for Lucy has two faces. And last night, this was rather the latter. She enjoyed herself physically, but now in the morning she feels uncomfortable. Where is this guy? He's supposed to be lying next to her. He could be everyone. He could be a psychopath, or he could be a pervert. A pervert who makes or takes photos from her while she sleeps, while she's naked, while she's vulnerable. This is not something you do. You do not entrust yourself to nobodies. Despite the fact that Lucy has a knack for seeing through people, seeing their true personalities, their characters, and she likes to intimidate man or go for man who in a way are easy controllable, not because she likes these men in general. No, she rather prefers independent and strong men, but she feels vulnerable as well. She feels that something is wrong with her, that she has this fear, this existential fear of the dark and having to be alone. And she cannot make anyone understand who is independent. She assumes a man who is independent, a man who stands with both feet in life, probably wouldn't even care for her at all. Probably would even walk past her or see their mental damages she is carrying with herself. Lucy had over the years learned to cover up, learned how to take her private life out of plain sight. She tried to do it. This is what she learned from her parents. Her parents, whenever someone was on a visit, came to visit them, her parents, they were fine hosts. They were fun-loving. At least they could act like it. They were funny. They would make funny jokes. It was always as if this would be a nice, good family. People who get along well. And Lucy occasionally even enjoyed when someone came over to visit them. Then she would see the good side of her parents. She would see the role activity thing, and it was for me. Her parents, even though they were not professional actors and actresses, they could give a fine performance. Yeah. People believed them. They could not see through them that this warm, joyous, amiable family, this amiable behavior is actually not real, just for the show. And once those visitors left, Lucy saw the real faces of their parents. They were mostly taciturn. They would mostly snarl and snicker at each other. They would hate each other and hurl insults at each other. They would not even sleep in the same room. They would drop all pretense. Everything before was nothing but supposititious. And Lucy had to live through these shows, through these pretense. And she sort of adopted to this role play. Everything is fine. She needed it. That's why she never talked with anyone what happened to her. She never talked with anyone about her fear, about her mortal fear of being alone when it is dark. She rather preferred that people in the FBI bureau and outside think of her as a whore, as a woman who could be possibly a liability for the FBI. Head of the FBI, Harry Mime. He's one of those guys who sticks to Lucy, but not because he approves her behavior. Because for 1 year ago, this news broke. This news broke in the FBI that apparently one female employee has a lot of sexual intercourse with various men, with different men. This was a revolting attitude or a revolting news for many male FBI agents. A woman who has sex with a lot of men and she works for the FBI, this would be all a dishonor. And it would tarnish the reputation of the FBI if this is actually true. And it was true, because some of the men Lucy had sex with, they came actually forward. They talked about her. They recognized her. And they talked pretty much freely about having sex with her. Some of these men, some of them reported false things like which sex position he had sex with her. How amazing Lucy apparently likes to get fucked from behind, and that she mourned like a whore. And this, back then, they did not know that she's from the FBI, but now it even feels more enjoyable. They feel even more pleasure that they had nailed an FBI woman. And some of the men in the bureau thought this as a disgrace, and that this woman, who is a liability to the FBI, should be thrown out of the office right away. But Harry Mame decided against it, even though he knew that this is not a behavior someone from the FBI should be conducting. You should not have with random people sexual intercourse. Worst of all, invite them in to your home. This could be a liability. You could talk about stuff you should not talk about. Harry Mayhem knew that. But he knew as well as that many men, especially men who are head of departments, men who are married, have girlfriends on their side. They have mistresses. They so-called Puritan indignancy is actually nothing but a sham. And if he would move on it, because he was well aware who this person is Lucy Knight, Special Agent Lucy Knight. But he knew that if he would move on it, would throw her out just because of the reason that she has a lot of sex with a lot of different men, this would probably open questions about other agents within the FBI who sometimes even in plain sight cheat on their women. And this is the last thing they need. Harry Mayhem tried to talk with Lucy, but he doesn't know how. What is one supposed to say? Stop fucking around. Stop getting fucked up all day long. Normally, he doesn't care about the personal lives of his agents, but he agrees that this reflects badly on the FBI. Apparently, a sex addict is an agent works for the FBI. He can already see the headlines in local and national news, and if something goes wrong, they will probably come back to that. If the FBI mistreats a case, or if they make a mistake and these days these things happen, what then? Harry Mayhem acted, or he didn't act on it, as long as he thinks that this is just a stupid rumor and people do not actually believe in it. Because outside the bureau, everyone assumes that the bureau is a neat and tight organization and that these things would actually not happen, that people who are admitted into the FBI, that they would have some sort of, that they would bring with them a certain behavior. So Harry Mayhem assumed that outside the bureau, people would actually not believe these rumors, but he felt uncomfortable indeed. Lucy thinks about the time when Harry Mayhem asked her into his office, when he opened up to her and said that FBI agents, that they represent the bureau outside as well, to the public as well, and that every agent should always strive to maintain a positive attitude and a positive reputation of the bureau in civil society. You are obliged to it because this is your working place after all, and the FBI needs a lot of civil cooperation to solve crimes and to make this country safe. Lucy didn't respond. She knew what this was all about, and she understood it, and she wanted to make an end to it. She knew that this is wrong, that something dies in her. She wanted to find the real man, the man she could be with. She even applied for date agencies. Whatever you have, maybe this special person is out there. But no matter how hard she tried, she didn't find this person. And she could not deal with this fear, with this mortal fear of being alone, having to sleep alone, having to face the night, the scary night all alone. And what would people say if they would knew that an FBI agent who investigates into serial killers, a profiler, is scared of the dark, mortally scared, so scared that she even is willing to be called a whore instead of someone who is actually probably not capable of being an FBI agent at all. Lucy is well aware that when people in the bureau would find out that she is struggling mentally, they would come for her. They would get rid of her. So she kept it all to herself. But she needed someone to be with. She tried to be more discreet so that people don't find out. She would not pick up man who could be in a way a danger to her. She even dyed her hair so that people might not recognize her. She started to dress differently. She had a separate dresser installed in her bedroom for special occasion, to go outside, to walk through civil society, so that people might not associate her with the FBI, because she was proud to work for the FBI. It was a dream come true. She always wanted to go after the bad guys. But this mental impairment she struggled with, and she hated to struggle with, and she hated herself. Every time when she had to give in to this fear, every time when night was approaching and she felt uncomfortable, every time when she feels devastated, when she thinks of everything that might be lurking in the dark, that might be under her bed, in the dresser, and everywhere. Visions of evil people, imaginations of evil and dark eyes which come haunting her. And she feels more and more uncomfortable. And she understands that more and more she cannot be alone, that she has to do something against this loneliness, against this mortal fear. And it is only the night. And how many times did Lucy try to soothe herself, was determined to pass the night, to get through the night without anyone, alone, all by herself, face her fear. But the problem with her fear was that it was not visible. It was out of sight, like someone. She was looking for something that was always hiding from her. And the eyes and the shape of this something was so elusive, would always evade her. She could not take a glance at it. And this was maddening. What was there that was waiting for her? Lucy thought that she probably goes insane more and more, that she loses touch with reality. And she has no one to talk to. And last night, she again felt this mortal fear. She again felt that she could not cope with it anymore, and that she cannot be alone anymore. That's why she went out again. Went out in a bar, just not to be alone, just to have a night rest, just to feel normal again. Lucy opens the drapes. It is morning, and she feels relieved, because it is a dawn of a new day. Lucy does not like sunsets, even though many people find sunsets soothing, as if at the end of the day you some sort of gaze into an idle, or you are in an idle notion, the end of another day, the end, and some philosophize about life, about what one has accomplished, about the daily mundane existence they live, and in the sunset, in this beauty, everything comes together. All these thoughts, which are nothing but bunkum. Nothing will change how long you gaze into a sunset. But the morning gone, it has something different on it. Something, a new start, a fresh start, aware of a lot of possibilities. This is when you can make the change, can bring change about. Lucy feels comfortable. She has garnered strength so that she does not feel afraid anymore. Despite the fact that there is a stranger in her bed, someone she doesn't even know the name of. Sexuality for Lucy has not intimacy at all. It does not entail intimacy at all. There are many variations of sexuality. Of course, some sexualities, sometimes when you have sex with someone you love and want to be with, this may be intimate. This may be something valuable, but Lucy has never experienced these feelings. She knows sex only through a favor you do someone whom you cannot convince otherwise to spend the night with you, to help you to cope with the fear. Lucy, despite the fact, is cautious. This person whom she does not know could be a murderer, could be a perv after all. She looks around, she sees his trousers. She stealthily sneaks to the trousers. She gets his phone. It is locked, but it seems all normal. She knows how to hack a phone. This is what one IT geek in the FBI taught her. Even though if it is an iPhone, she knows how to circumvent the phone lock. So she does it. The first thing, she goes for his photos, his camera. Thank God he did not make naked photos of her. He didn't make any photos of her at all. She opens Facebook. His name is Tim, and he has a lot of friends. Lucy grows weary. A lot of friends. This doesn't mean anything good. He could talk about her, and he is in a home. Lucy gets thoughtful. He goes through his Facebook profile. This all looks neat. He's no braggart. She goes through a lot of photos on Facebook. He has taken some selfies with other women, so he's not lonely. He's not a guy who craves for female attention. So Lucy's intuition led her the right way. This is a man you could just have sex with, and who would know how to behave himself, and who would be discreet if she needed him to be. So this all looks neat. Lucy sighs in relief. She sneaks into the kitchen, and she sees him preparing breakfast. Well, this would be very romantic for any woman who would see that the man she spent the night with makes her breakfast. But for Lucy, this sight is hideous. There's a stranger in her room, a stranger who uses her stuff, a stranger whom she had never known before, now stands in her kitchen, as if he would have any right to do that, as if because they had sex that he would be allowed to go through her personal stuff, that he is even daring. She does not like this thought. She doesn't like it at all. And Lucy thinks about how to get rid of this man, because you have to be subtle and you have to be careful, since every wrong word could lead to a PR disaster, or he could slander her on Facebook. He could call her whore, call her names, whatever you have. This is dangerous, and Lucy knows that she has to be careful. Especially not only as a woman, you don't want to be called out on Facebook a whore. She knows very well that there are some WhatsApp groups, mostly run by men, and there are many with a lot of man members, where men post photos of women who supposedly are whores, or women who are easy to get. And Lucy has never found out whether ever a man has posted a photo of her claiming that she's a whore. She of course was well aware that people around her, that in the bureau, that they know that she had a lot of sexual intercourse with various men, but she does not know to this very day whether they have even dedicated a WhatsApp group on her named man she had all sex with. And the thought makes her weary that she's been perceived as a whore, and she imagines how these people might look at her, even the people here where she lives. Everything seems to be normal. Everyone greets her as if she would be a normal single woman so far. But what would happen if they would see through it? If they would consider her a whore? Like this is happening in the bureau, and she feels quite uncomfortable with it, but it is still better for Lucy than to talk about what is really ailing her. Lucy knows that she has to get rid of this man. She doesn't think making breakfast in the home of someone else is any romantic at all, especially this a private sphere. She goes in to the bathroom. She takes a shower very fast, just the necessity. This is how Lucy some sort of grew up with. Everything you do is some sort of a necessity requirement. You take a shower every day so that people do not think that you are filthy. You brush your teeth twice a day, not because you want to prevent your teeth turning black or fall off, but so that you have not a nasty breath, so that you do not become a disturbance for other people. Just the bare necessity. Lucy has never learned to some sort of embellish her appearance or to feel pride for her appearance. She always wanted to maintain the necessity requirement that when people look at her, that they see a smart, clean woman. That's all one. But things had changed in the past, especially when the news in the FBI bureau broke that she is having sex with a lot of men. Some of the men in the bureau snickered, laughed at her. Some of them winked at her, or others just looked at her in disdain. And she felt filthy. She felt so filthy that she had for a couple of weeks spent longer on her daily morning showers, and she felt all the gazes of the man in the bureau. And these gazes, many of them disturbingly perverse. Some of these men, as if they would not know what sexual intercourse really is. They looked at her in a way that made her very uncomfortable, as if they would be undressing her in their minds. And these cases, they subjugate subjugated her, they stigmatized her, but as well as they made her feel filthy. She more and more understood what it means for a woman to lose all the respect of their male co-workers. Because once, when she started to work for the FBI, everyone assumed that she's a smart girl, a little bit geeky. She was not wearing any makeup. She was not wearing any flashy or showy clothes. And Lucy had some sort of adopted to a down-to-earth behavior. Acting role, playing what she learned from her parents, that when you leave your walls, when you leave your four walls, that you have to not only wear clean and neat clothes, no, you as well as wear, and this is what her parents pretty much thought of it. You wore a certain behavior, a behavior which appears for some like a code you wore. How you should behave yourself in public and how people should perceive you in public. And in the beginning, everyone was very fond of her, Lucy. She's an upstart, she's a smart woman, and everyone apparently liked her, liked the person she played and the role played. But then things changed. They changed at once when rumors spread that she is an insatiable woman, that she is even a whore. Some of them even assumed that she runs a secret escort service, that this is a woman who probably can't get enough money, or she can't get enough dicks, because many people assumed if you work for the FBI, if you are surrounded by serial killers or go after serial killers, that something isn't right with you, because you could have become a normal police officer who brings law and order to the public and who in return gets appreciation from the public. This is what many police officers become. This is why they wear uniforms. They want to wear it in public to be seen. This is a major part of being a policeman as well, to get or to flatter yourself in the public eye. But being an FBI agent, this is way different, because you are not in the public eye that much. You spend most of your time outside of the public eyes through analysis. Or if you go after serial killers, this is even way more different. So many assumed that you had to have some mental issues, some mental dent, as it is called. And you need to have this mental dent in order to understand what is wrong with the people, what is going wrong with the world. But no one ever assumed that a woman who is apparently a sex addict would be fitting to go after serial killers. And Lucy is a very successful FBI profiler. But this news that she has a lot of sexual intercourse tarnished her good reputation. Things from there on changed. They changed drastically. No man wanted to be affiliated with her anymore, because firstly you could be accused of being her boyfriend or being one of her lovers, and there are a lot of jealous women who somehow know how to get information. People talk. And the second thing was that man stood away from her because they wanted to preserve a special reputation, or that they didn't want to be perceived as someone who hangs out with whores. No, they wanted to rather be perceived as man who can have real women, because they did not consider Lucy as a real woman, as a whore who probably gets paid or asks for money for sexual services and sexual favors. So man didn't want to be with her. And it was hard for Lucy. It was disturbing, because back to that news, she always thought as the FBI as her beacon of hope, despite the fact that she had to deal with this mortal fear of being alone, having to face night all alone and all this darkness, these creatures in the darkness which seems to sneak around, despite the fact she always fought as the FBI and her work for the FBI as a force which helps her to order her life, as a force which helps her to get through life, to give her life a meaning. But then after everyone started to look at her as a whore, she saw something broke inside her, and she more and more felt no joy in her work anymore. And she thinks right now under the shower she thinks right now of the bureau and whom she will meet today. How many men will stare at her, undress her in their minds, their eyes looking from her face to her shoes and back up, and probably imagine or think whether she shaves her pussy. She heard about these conversations. She heard about men talking about that Lucy only looks like a good girl, but she is probably a nasty whore in bed. And she heard about the bet that some assumed that she would have some sort of whore tattoo, and how this whore tattoo may look like. Maybe she even has a tattoo of a dick on her ass, telling every man where to get in, because there are rumors Lucy only has sex with hillbillies. The thought alone makes her uncomfortable. But Lucy did not give up her job at the FBI. She needs that job to give her meaning in her life. She has finished showering. She dries her hair fastly. She thinks about the stranger, Tim, who must have realized by now that she's up, that she's awake, and that she even locked the door of the bathroom because she doesn't want to meet him. And Lucy thinks about it again. A stranger is in her home, and she has put her gun into a safe space, into a safe. Her gun and her badge, everything that has any meaning to her, is locked away. She thinks about the fact how she can get to her gun and her badge without Tim, the stranger, seeing her, so that he might not know or doesn't get aware of the fact that he had sex with an FBI agent, that an FBI agent picked him up, because this was new for for a man. This was new for Tim. Lucy remembers Tim's face when she some sort of said these things, and Lucy knows what to say to people, fancy them, flatter them, especially men who crave for attention, or who feel uncomfortable around women. She knows what to say to them, and Tim was swooned. Tim was charmed, and he came with her. But Lucy saw that this was a whole new experience for him. Never before did a woman pick up a man. And normally you should be very cautious if a woman picks you up. But Tim was not. He was in a daze, and he came with Lucy into her home. Lucy still would never go in to the home of someone whom she picked up. This was too risky and too scary to be in a ground or in a place you don't feel familiar with, especially a person you don't know. And now Lucy thinks how to get rid of this man. She gets out of the bathroom cautiously. She looks around. Tim is not there. Again, she feels uncomfortable that she has to sneak around in her own home, in her safe place. She rushes to her dresser, to her dresser. She dresses very fast. She has a secret safe behind the dresser. It is hidden. It is not visible for everyone. This is where she hides her gun and her badge. It is not safe indeed. Normally an FBI agent, so they say, sleeps with his gun under his pillow, not because he's scared, or not because he should be scared, but rather some sort of that there is a lot of people whom he incarcerated and who might be coming after him. But for Lucy, the thought alone is scary, that a stranger could get hold of her gun, see her badge, her name. This would be too dangerous, and it could happen, because once you close your eyes, you are in the hand of this stranger. And if this is a pervert or whatever villain, he could do with her whatever she wants. So it is safe for Lucy to hide her gun. She immediately opens the safe, looks around, still a precaution, hoping Tim is still in the kitchen. She gets out her gun and her badge. She hides her gun and her badge behind her back. She goes in the kitchen. Tim is shrieked. He looks at a different woman, a woman in a suit, who stares at him sternly. He says hi in a very uncomfortable way because he thought that they would have breakfast together, that they would get to know each other. Tim seems to be the man who does not really believe in one-night stands, who thinks in terms of relationships. But this woman which stands in front of her now is way more different, way more hostile. She's not soothing anymore, and she does not find these fine words for him anymore. She says to him in a placid voice, I need to go to work, and it is better for you to leave. It was nice. This is all. She's very cautious. She does not want to get his hopes up, because you have to be very careful. You must not give them any notion of whether you are not sure, or whether you should or he should come around any other time. You have to make them think that this is over, that this was not just a one-night stand and now things are over. He asks her, do you have a boyfriend? Lucy does not respond to the question. This is too messy. Because if she would say yes, then he would assume that she's a whore. You have to be careful. She says to him, you have to go now, Tim. He seems to be flattered that he knows her name, but he thinks to himself, well, he doesn't know her name. He gets up from the breakfast table, walks in to the bedroom, gets his clothes. He's mutely dressing himself. He looks at her. Lucy's face is still stern. She still stares at him in a very uncomfortable way. Lucy knows that this staring makes people uncomfortable, as if you stare at someone's mistakes, at someone's handicaps and wrongs, and people immediately assume that you have seen their mistakes, and you some sort of point with your eyes at it, and you can't look away. Tim has dressed. He tries to say something. It was good, nice, or whatever, but Lucy cuts him off. I need to go to work now. Will I see you again? Goodbye, Tim. And she walks him out of her home. He is thoughtful and devastated. Lucy is relieved.